My name is DJ Cappuccino, Fortune Maswangani, Mhlali, Jingindaba wa Mkhatshane wa Holeni wa Mashango wa Mpatsi wa N'waxihoxani, Patsi wa Nkhandlani wa xitlhelo xa xikaya xa le ndleleni xa ku khwenyuta vahundzi va ndlela va ku rhandza ku tlanga hi ku tovana. Holeni gape ke Tebogo, ke ngwana wa Malatji wa Pula ya Marole, ke nna setlogolo sa bakgatla ba Mosetla wa Magana le Kgomo, ba re ha e namele setlhare a e je boreko ke mo Setlaopa.
Just Talk with DJ Cappuccino.
I don't know, but I would have chucked you out. I don't know, I would do something. I saw ill-discipline, ill-informed statements. I saw disrespect to the Vice-Chancellor from you.
To say, Vice Chancellor, this is a problem. And I call this an academic terrorism.
You got a new name now. They call you Rakadi Kabi.
But I had to speak about the challenges, the ills, that which are a problem to society. I've raised many issues
In the very same
hall.
I was like, oh, this is a statement that he was entrusted to go and deliver to the Vice-Chancellor.
You know, since that statement I made, I don't know how many people who came through, Malatji, you know, you're a savior, you know, and I still call that Vice-Chancellor in good faith. How deep can it be? I'm just saying, and I raise it and say, VC, this does not show Ubuntu.
Kabila that.
Worse enough is that there are no corrective measures. People are not held responsible for these actions. It's business as usual.
Just Talk with DJ Cappuccino.
Escape to the luxurious Meropa Hotel in Polokwane and immerse yourself in a world of Moroccan-inspired grandeur. With 54 standard rooms and 4 luxurious suites, our hotel offers affordable accommodation options tailored to suit your needs. Whether planning a conference or seeking a weekend escape, our hotel provides the perfect setting for your next adventure. For bookings, email sunmeropahotel@suninternational.com or call our hotel reception on 015 290 5400.
Just Talk with DJ Cappuccino.
Welcome to another episode of Just Talk with DJ Cappuccino. On today's episode, we're joined by a dynamic leader who wears many influential hats. Khomotso Kabila Malatji, a committed political activist, proud member of the African National Congress. And he currently serves as a Director of Legal Services at the Department of Cooperative Governance, Human Settlement and Traditional Affairs, where he plays a critical role in shaping legal frameworks that governs local municipalities and traditional structures. Khomotso is also an active member of the University of Limpopo Alumni and Convocation Association, where he continues to drive institutional development and alumni engagement. Welcome to Just Talk with DJ Cappuccino.
My brother, it reminds me long ago. You remember Teflon days.
The first time I met you, we were at Kilm's room.
Yes.
But no, Kabila is coming.
Said one leader, one powerful man is coming.
Yeah, one powerful man is coming. I don't know what they did. They had a lunch box prepared for you, for you to come and collect that lunch box. And I was like, okay, this gentleman is here. And since I knew you and there was mutual respect between us.
No, that's correct.
And I can safely say I was the MC at your wedding.
Yeah.
Which is an honor.
True.
Yeah, but you one person that whenever I went wrong, you would tell me. Whenever I'm trying to do something right, you'd comment me. And that's something that I appreciate. My brother, I think you're a giant. You're not aware.
Really,
No. Honestly, you know, I always tell people that those who have survived the politics, especially the politics of the ANC, from a young age, they are refined and they can actually fit in anywhere. Because I've seen you lose conferences. I've seen you win conferences from SASCO, whether you were rooting for someone in the Women's League, whether even in the provincial structures of the ANC. But I've seen how you would fight, and you were never afraid to give your views. So when I say you're a giant, it is because of such a refinement. But I want us to give the viewers a glimpse of who you are in terms of where you grew up. That young boy, which village, anything that you can actually remember that you think it's important to share that made you the man that you are today.
where do I start? Look, I'm from Cross, a village next to the Nyanya, under the headman Shkwamba, because it's very important you acknowledge leadership.
Yes.
Because if you don't acknowledge them and you say I'm from Cross, they'll say, but Cross, there are two headmen. Where in Cross? So I'm from Shkwamban, under headman Shkwamban. A very progressive village led by a woman, young dynamic woman. I happen to have been very close with the father and the late brother. May his soul rest in peace. So I went to primary in Lenyenye because in our time it was just in the late days of apartheid. So the village that I'm from is mostly Shangani dominated.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, obviously, in a Shangani dominated, you would not have a provision for Pedi schools. So I went to my primary in Lenyenye, in a school called Ramalema Lower Primary, and then I went to the higher primary called Lenyenye Higher Primary. Maybe also to start by acknowledging that I'm a child of somebody. I'm a child of Johannes Malatji, who was a traffic official for both provincial government and later on to being a what do you call a traffic official, a head of traffic department in Zanu municipality.
Yes.
My mother is Julia, born from Matloromela, and obviously Julia Malatji now. She was a teacher by profession. Yeah. So now going back to how I grew, from the two primary schools, I then went to Mahoga High School. Mahoga High School is direct in Moria, in St. Ignace, the CC Church.
Yeah.
That's where I did my high school.
Discipline.
Disciplined, but also rebellious.
Yeah.
But rebellious in an organized manner. But what underpins my life is also respect to people. So I did my matric there.
What was special about Makokaman? Because many people come from there, influential in their fields. What happened there?
Mahoga will be your, these days, the powerful school, what do you call them? The Kuro arrangement of that days.
In a village setting?
No, not in a village. Remember, it had a boarding school.
Yeah.
Mahoga competed with St. Beat, Motsamaria. Is that, you know, one thing about the old system is that you would have churches building building schools or sponsoring school. So my church, the one that I go, which is St. Ignace, had their school, which is still there, Mahoga High School, and many are actually a product of that school.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was more, by then, it was a very powerful school by then. I have not been followed the development because I'm one person. Once I'm done with the particular part of life, I tend to give the people of the day time to have their mistakes. So I'm not that way, that I'm burning. So I think, yeah, but at some point I must visit the three schools that which produced me: Ramale, Malenyenye, and Mahoka High School. Those are the schools that I went to. And then from there, I went to a theater of politics, TEFLO. That should
So,
be,
but when did the political consciousness start? Was it from high school, or is this something that you picked up when you went to the University of Limpopo?
no, political consciousness, I think, started when remember, my high school would be just immediately after 1994, because I did my Form 1. We used to call Form 1. Today it will be grade 8 in 1993. Just, I think, 3 years after Mandela was released. The mood everywhere was that of, we're now getting this thing. The freedom is here. So one way or another, if you're born that generation, you're born within that period,
Yeah.
it will be, I would say, unconscious, or maybe lack of interest to politics, that you could not have been conscientized by the environment at that
Yeah.
particular time.
Yeah.
So it was that time when the election came. I think I was 14 years. Then I was conscious. I knew there was ANC, there was Mandela, who must now be a president. There was Oliver Tambo. I always ask my father, what is the difference between Oliver Tambo and Nelson Mandela? I'm saying that time I was just 14, and they had to. And because we were actually indoctrinated by Bantustan politics, I also even asked, but why are Sothos celebrating the release of Mandela, and Shangans here are also celebrating the release of Mandela? So I'm just telling you the basic, what actually propelled me being this inquisitive of what is this period all about.
Avoiding going back and forth is, the setup of Mhlaba Cross, ne? Is very tricky, especially those villages, because you find a Tsonga dwelling opposite or next door, Kibalobedu, you find Tsonga. I don't know what led to that arrangement.
Look, well, we're actually residing in an area that has 3, if not senior traditional leaders. You have Bakharabamag, who would normally claim the part of Muime, which is part of my ward in terms of today's politics. You also have Bathabine, which is Bagamoboya. And then you then also have those that which I actually pay my dues to, Bagankuna, which is commonly known as Mhlaba. So those are 2 traditional authorities that which surround. So that's why it's very easy. You get surprised when you hear a person says, I'm from Dan, but that person can't speak Pedi, because Dan is composed of both Sotho and Shangans. Where I'm from is composed of both Sotho and Shangans. So that's why knowing Shangan, it should come ordinarily, because
Your
I
next door
played, I
neighbor.
grew with them. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that's the reason why, because at that time, these villages that which I'm talking are the ones that which actually felt the wrath of tribalism as a result of a Bantustan arrangement.
Isa.
Yeah, because sometimes you will be treated because in a rough way, because you are Pedi speaking, or you just refer to a person, is a Shangan. I don't want to use those derogatory
No,
names
it's-
because they were there.
It's not derogatory because after understanding where we come in, Ibantukulu ba Gwambe na Zabad.
That's true.
Gwambe is, that's where the Kwapa is derived from.
Yes.
So when you say Kelo Kwapa,
Yes.
you
No, but I'm saying that how it will be contextualized.
No, I remember I grew up in Putatswana. You
Yeah.
want to ask me the level of being teased for
Yeah.
being at some point in primary school. I even said Khomotso
Just to be relevant.
because it was bad. Even the principal would discriminate against you. May his soul rest in peace. Principal Mokgalong.
Yes.
Because you are Tonga.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I can safely claim that we're the last generation to enjoy the wrath of apartheid. We're the last generation to enjoy corporal punishment.
So fast forward.
Yeah.
The buck beat you now. You first year, University of Limpopo. By then,
In University of the North.
it was University of the North.
Yeah.
By then.
Yes.
Then, this is, which year was it?
It should be 1999.
1999. Then you are in that setting. Here's Kabila. I don't know how you got the name, but I can assume you got it, got have.
No, I will take you through how I
Please.
how I got the name.
Yeah.
1999 orientation period. I meet a fellow called Sello Malesa. I work with him today in CoGHSTA. Sello Malesa was, because he came from ordinary public school at, I think is Nelson Ramudike High School in a village called Marumufas. He was a bit more conscious to me.
It was clear.
Very clear. Even today when you speak, you can hear you're speaking to the cadre of a movement.
Yeah.
So Sello Malesa then invite me. No, we actually met because he's a homeboy.
Yeah.
It was easy to relate with him.
Yeah,
because he's
Banyana,
he's
Lewala,
yeah,
Banyana,
yeah, Bagamugwa, Wanarugwa.
Dizorea.
So it was
Yeah.
easy. So he said, Chief, no, I want you to come accompany me. But also the other person who played a very critical role is the late Tracy Malatji. We are related one way as families. She said to me, when you arrive in Teflo, please join SASCO. No SASCO, I only know SASCO Yamarot. I did not know SASCO as could be an organization. She also had a younger sister there who, at my first year, she was cooking for me. When I'm hungry, I'll go to a room. She was also an activist of YCL.
So you were in 1989.
No, look, and there is a reason to that. If
Yeah.
we have time, we can share.
No,
Well,
we have time.
we can share what actually informed and yeah. So now, Sello Malesa takes me to the meeting. When I arrive there, I get to scream. Do you know scream?
Scream, but yes.
Yeah, they're speaking big English. I get your
I'm imagining it.
I get your Gilbert Khanya, I get your Ismail Malale.
Yeah.
They're speaking very nice, eloquent English. Fluent, these cadres. You know, I could see the revolution. I see, yeah, I belong here. Yeah. Well, that time, you know, when you were a fresher, you would not even speak in the meeting. I don't know if that practice is still there.
Yeah.
Because you must listen to very powerful. There were people. There was Jack Patu, you know Jack Patu. There will be Mandla Mhlanga. There will be, you know, Thabiso Lekoane. You know, many people. And
TEF produced.
yeah, no, TEF, look, if you were to sit and...
No, TEF has a good legacy.
Yeah, so I meet these guys, you know. Some don't speak, but behind computer, what he produces, one man called Zakes Mnis. He will not speak in meetings. But if he produces you a notice, you'll wish, and write about you, you'll wish you're never born. Yeah, so, you know, you get into that spirit. And I remember we joined, being a crew, you may be knowing Richard Ramashia.
Yes.
Yeah, we went the same year in Teflo. Robert Matebula, may his soul rest in
Man,
peace.
I only
Yeah.
met him, I think, for a year or two.
Yes, yeah.
Engaged with him for a year or two.
Mandla Sopela, you know.
General.
But of course, Mandla went, I think, a year before me because he registered 1998. But these people were more of peers to me.
You would sit and listen and
listen
talk about politics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, guess what? They're busy saying MDM. I became impatient. I rose a hand. I think the chairperson by then it was, I don't remember who was the chairperson, but before Scream. He says, yes, young man. You know, in South School, they will undermine you. Hey,
They'll intimidate you.
Intimidate you. Yes, young man.
You have something to say?
Do you have something to say, Chief?
Yeah.
You know, but I hear you guys, you're saying MDM and MDM. What is MDM? Hey, they laughed. And look, it was a genuine question.
Yeah.
I wanted to follow what they were saying. What is this MDM? Then Ishmael rose up. Ishmael Malak. He rose up and said, no, you must not be impatient to this kid.
Yeah.
Young
He
man,
doesn't know.
He's learning. We have a responsibility to teach.
I don't know what MDM is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He said, no, young man, MDM stands for Mass Democratic Movement. Then ask, what is this Mass Democratic Movement? They say, no, it's all organizations which are actually prescribing to the Freedom Charter. Then said, Communist Party, all the unions. Then I understood. So this formation, we called them in one way to say Mass Democratic Movement because they stand to pursue one agenda. Yes. You can imagine, that's how I started to now engage with politics.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And
same year. Because after that meeting, I guess it was this meeting just after what do you call this process where you are introduced to things, orientation. Yes.
Yeah.
Then we go to classes. When the classes start.
Kana, you registered what? Law.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I had registered BA in political science. That was my first registration. So I met one man called Makudu Lakhanyan. I don't know whether you know him. He's a very serious fellow in the church. He has St. Ignace.
Okay.
Yeah. Because he was from Boyne, he asked me, "What register like?" Yes, I've registered. What register really?
No, we not go Shamar.
Okay. Na re ba le ba re tsena kerekeng. Kereke tsena ka 2, ke tsena ka 2. Eba fetsa on rapelela. Ke ja ba go opela ke dieng, it has never been my thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So he says, "What register ke?" Yeah, what register and no. Register the BA in political science. Yeah. What nonsense is that? What do you mean nonsense? I don't know, but when you finish there, what are you going to do with that degree? Then I phoned the old man later on. He says,
Your father?
Yeah. I will register Elena. I agree he had actually requested one neighbor of us called Shoes to accompany, to help us with registration because he was a student. He had went a year before us. At least he knew the dynamics. So I phoned my father. Hey, time. Well, I called my father time and my mother Olet. Hey, time I get register. Register BA in political science. Yeah. Hey, that man was very angry. Yo.
And you know,
he says, "Oh, where ga guy BA B ukila kwa motho ba re where ga politics." You know, that's how it will be interpreted to my old man. That there are other avenues you can do that. Look, and don't mean to respect him, but he was just furious or no. But you could have taken something. Ke re khane bjale le nyaka ke di eng? Ne? Then
But you pushed a year.
no, I had to change. I got to the 1999 TEFLOP had problems. There were no students. No one wanted to go to TEFLOP because TEFLOP was known for strikes and everyone.
Yeah, no strike for 3 months.
Yeah, no family.
Yeah.
No parents would want to take his kids to TEFLOP. No one. Yeah. So then my father says, no, you must go and change that thing tomorrow.
Instruction.
Yeah, no. And look, now my father yet that character. I will educate. It's odd. You don't question.
I think it filtered down to you. You're also very authoritative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, I then, okay, fine. The following day, I go to R Block. I'm here to register. To register. They did not have students. I think the first year, that year, we were not more than 1,000. Eh? I think we were very few. Then I managed to change my registration from political science to LLB. That's where the journey started.
Oh, wow.
When the classes started, that's my lesson. I get now every class, the first year, second year, they had to have class reps. And now, I was not even anticipating. Malesa then nominate me. I was speaking, I can speak, I'm a politician, I'm from the meeting, I know what is the meaning of MTM.
Yeah. Why must we keep
Why
quiet?
must I not?
Yeah.
When the lecturers were speaking, I'm the one who's raising the hand and say, no. So Sello Malesa then proposed my name. To say, no, I propose this young man, he can be a good class rep for the first years. Yeah, that's where all
Leadership qualities started.
That's where the whole. But I think even from high school, I was a bell ringer at some point. And because I was talkative and I could stand for what I believe in, they would always put me a class rep. I've not been a class rep even in high school. I was a class rep, but obviously, in high school, it will not be the same with the university.
So when I came around TEF, it was around 2005.
That's correct. Then I was now.
You guys, looks like you overstayed.
Look, it will be easy, and if you are to follow a simplistic route, you may say we have overstayed. Which, yes, in the real sense, for a parent who's paying, for an observer outside, who say I've paid. But if you look into what then came out of that, then you realize that maybe, because now when you tell me, I'll tell you I have 2 degrees. I'm doing the third one, which is MBA. My first degree, which is visual, is nowhere. I don't have paper for it. It's political science. And my second one is LLB. That's the one that I'm trading with now.
And in the number of years you spent there, you were busy getting your master's in political science.
Correct. Yeah. So, and it was very easy to say, because look, student politics exposed me to many things.
No, it transforms you. You know, I always tell people who go to tertiary, these young ones, Kiri, join a certain society. Be active, whether it's SCO, whether it's a choir, whether it's what. Join. That is the beauty of being tertiary. You can't go to class and go to sleep.
Yeah, no. It exposed me to many things.
Yeah.
When I started sleeping in the hotel, it was because of student movement. When I had my first meal in a restaurant, it was through student movement.
When you get on a bus,
when I had to go to Cape Town, Durban, PE,
it's politics.
It was student movement. The skill of problem solving, at most, it was a skill that which I had to acquired through because of the involvement of student movement. But above all, the network I've built for myself. I became known and to know people because of student movement. Because, look, whether you want to say what, which is that without network, you may not achieve what you may need to what you may need in life. I knew I did not pay my MC for my wedding because that MC was my friend.
I was exploited. I was exploited.
I could not pay him.
Exploitation.
No, because I was exploited when I was a student leader also.
Yeah.
Because that friend of mine, when he wanted a bash, he knew that I was a key. So it was my way of reaping what I've actually plowed.
I want the viewers to follow your journey. It's very interesting, Kabila. And I know that your LLB, you didn't graduate at TEF.
No, I graduated in TEF.
Oh, but at
I
some point,
I completed it.
At some point, you went to exile.
I completed the last remaining module, which were 4 in university.
What happened there?
Yes. Something happened, but I will tell you. You know, when you are a student leader, every time when you are given a platform, naively so, because when you speak, you don't necessarily select your words. You are actually pushing a particular view without considering, that there are toes that we may be stepping on unconsciously. I don't know whether it makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense to me.
In my time, when they tell you that Kabila is coming to A block, some will just run away from the offices and all this.
Because I remember you'd make sure you would just appear there.
If I want,
TC will run.
Now we would disrupt the class being 4. We do not want 50 people to disrupt the class when we believe on a cause or on a strike that they knew. I go to TC, stood on the table and say, out.
So in the process, you make enemies with.
That's why I'm saying
some
that
of
you
the
unconsciously are stepping on the wrong toes. So many of the tools that I had stepped in is those of my lecturers. And I'll tell you why. And it will make practical sense. There's a course called admin law. I did it almost 4 times. I can't do a course for one professor called Professor Lutzo. That man hated me. He hated me. And I'm prepared to even to say, even when he's here. And I'm sure even if you go around the province and say, and go to many law graduates, majority of them, they have a story to tell about administrative law 272. So I came to know later that, and unfortunately on this one I will not be able to. I think in my 4th year, not in terms of level of study, there was a professor called Professor Ukpaluba, who was the director of our school. This professor was a non-nonsense taker. He would always stand with us as student when we have issues. I remember when they were introducing the modules, we made a presentation and agreed, and he agreed with us, and that was not to the pleasing of the lecturers. So the lecturers then connived with other student leaders who, for the sake of peace, I will not mention them. When they connive, they actually identified, I think it was me, it was Mandla Sopela. Unfortunately, when they went to Mandla, because he was ahead of me, he had already completed the journey. So with me, I was left with another a year or so.
You can't survive.
Yeah. No, I remember in one discussion, I have a friend of mine who's now working at the road accident fund called Skabaka. We sit. We do assignment. Together, you know. We did weight for weight.
Same information.
Same sources.
10%.
Yeah, Skabakawa K. No. There was once where I beat Skabakaba, I got 75, and then Skabakaba got 52. He got worried. So we're doing another course. Now I know the theories about it because when Skabakaba came, I was repeating the course. So I knew the content. I even showed do this. No? The script the boy da. Skabakaba kumani 82. Negi kuman 38.
And you master that one.
I mastered it. And Skabakaba wrote when we compare scripts, they're the same. Skabakaba, the principle he used is the principle I used.
Maybe you were using the same lepanta.
No, you were sitting. No, there when you sit, you normally sit. Yeah. So I was seated there. We're not even sitting together. That you say we're copying each other. No, we're not. Same in terms of our understanding of the course content. We understand it. We understood it the same. Skabakaba, it comes 82. Nam 38. Well, there, our prospect, you can recover at the next test. Because for you to recover at the next test, it means you must get 98, at least to qualify your one exam.
You're out.
You're out. Technically.
Then you don't attempt to.
You are naive. At that time, you are naive. You don't know that there's actually an agenda against you.
And
at least I'm happy that one man who came to apologize after he realized that, in fact, he was actually a neighbor to my grandmother's household. He came to apologize. I said, Kabila, I was part of this thing. My apology. I did not know that I was hating a neighbor.
And do you know how many of our brothers and sisters
who fall because
are home now? They couldn't attain education because of such victimization.
No, I'm still good. I'm still telling you the stories. The other one, now look, ordinarily when I was growing up, I would be close to girls, not in a very bad way. It's friends. So I had these friends. She was very beautiful. That's from Northwest. I'm not going to divulge the name.
Where is she? We'll share that after the episode.
She was in, I think she's a prosecutor now in Northwest.
Okay, I will Google.
Yeah. So this lecturer was interested into this woman.
Oh.
So he saw me as a stamping block. You get the point. He saw me as a stamping block.
I see where you're going.
Yeah. So did I have a potential of passing that course?
No. We'll deal with you.
This boy, yeah.
Okay, then rule A19.
Yeah, no, obviously if you overstay as a result of...
I'm a victim of Rule A19.
I am a victim of Rule A.
Yeah, it once hit me. I went to appeal because I had this thing of not writing tests and exams.
I remember RMD days. Remember RMD?
RMD, yeah. I would just come and I remember I was coming from a certain phase.
Yeah.
So coming to the institution was rehabilitation.
We just saw you as this as this. That day we called. There's a name we gave.
People didn't understand my story well. Yeah, so it hit me. I appealed.
No, I used to call you what they call a big spender from Limpopo. You remember?
Yeah.
You was told that the
story of in Cape Town.
In Cape Town, when you got into the shop and say we're big spenders from Limpopo, and I got very intriguing. This man, and I started calling you a big spender from Limpopo.
Yeah. No, I understand. Then you went to Univen, did the 4 courses. I get.
Yes.
Then came and consolidated the courses.
Because I think there was a rule that once you have passed more than 90% of your courses,
Oh, yes.
you will then graduate in the university that is holding the. So I had to go and do it at the UNIVEN, and thanks to my friend and my brother, leader, and people don't understand why I like him very so much. Rosan Luder
Oh, man.
and one Ndebu Mutivi. You should be knowing Mutivi.
Do you want to share experience there? Because I know that at least Univen you went to mature.
No. When I went to UNIVEN, remember, it was when I was already a deputy. I had been a deputy president of the SRC. I had been already the provincial secretary of SASCO. So I knew everyone. I think most of my fees there, I know that they were paid by Comrade Silence Makuvele through the intervention of Musa.
You knew how to raise funds.
No,
in the
then
movement. Yeah.
I remember now my lunch there at Univen. Truth be told, I was eating at Wimpy.
Yeah.
Through one cater called Norman Machete. May his soul rest in peace. He will always every day come to. I had an access direct line to the then provincial secretary of the ANC, Comrade Castle Matal. I had the direct line of the then provincial secretary of Youth League.
But by then
Julius.
you toned down a bit.
Yeah, then then I think I was more considerate of doing things, but also I had one thing and one thing first, only just to pass, just to finish and all these things. Yeah.
Okay. Then you come, you graduate.
Then I came. Can I tell you the story?
Please.
The story of my graduation. I come there silently, submit my results that I've passed.
Which year was it?
This should be 2000, because I graduated 2007, 2006. Yeah. Submitted. They then got accredited. Everything got fine. Now, at the date of my graduation, I guess normally when you graduate, the school that the lecturer of the school that which you are grading, they will normally be part of the possession. So they called the Khomotso El Gamalaji. I rise up and they do that. VC was very happy, Mokgalong.
I was surprised to see you there.
No, Mokgalong was not surprised because we're talking with him. At some point, I'll request that and that, and he, I must be honest, was very supportive of me.
Yeah.
Mandla, everyone. Mandla would, even on biannual, by weekly, he will always pop in envelope just in Univen, just to see that I'm fine. But I was in a good hands. Rosan Luder was the president of the SRC at that time, and we were very tight. So I did not, and in the UBUNTU was just man of the people. He made me enjoy Univen. Yeah. So during the day of my graduation, they called me, Khomotso El Gamalaji. I stood up and do these things. As I go outside, this lecture, he come and say, but you...
The one who sabotaged you?
Yes.
Yeah.
He says, but to my knowledge, when you do not pass my course. Yeah, how did you arrive here?
And can you imagine that the classes, how big they were?
No, I want to come there. Yeah. I want to come there.
Yeah.
I asked him, God, you are lecturing many people. How come do you recall that I did not pass my turn? I did not pass your course. First, he did not know that after I was affected by Rule A19, I actually went to university. He did not know. He just thought, well, maybe I went.
You did something.
I went to Mtlawa Cross or Ashkwamban and language there. But one thing which I must assure you, with my father, there was no way that I'll go back home without a degree. That I can assure you. That's the reason even those that follows me after, they have degrees. And in fact, you are aware that my younger brother is a PhD holder.
PhD, your sister must be, maybe now is a chartered accountant?
My other sister has two, she has now completed the 3rd degree. Maybe that she's not finding job. The last sister is doing, she's doing very well with
Into the auditing field.
No. The last born. The
eh?
last born is still at school.
Were you celebrating birthday?
No, that's the one who's manning my businesses. That's the one that I say she has 3 degrees, but unfortunately, she has not found job. And yeah. So I asked him this question. Why? So he got ashamed and left. But I told him. So then at that time now, I was now involved into youth politics outside campuses. And then
Where was your first job?
my first job was, I was a business regulator. In fact, the last day that I wrote my exam at UNIVEN, the second day, the first day after my last exam, I was starting to work at the Department of Economic Development as a business regulator. That was the program which was introduced by the late Minister Collins Chabane, may his soul rest in peace. And then I was deployed back home to Zanin. And when I reached home, now I had to be integrated into civic politics. I was welcomed at home in my village, I was welcomed by various people, but in the main, Comrade Zunane Ndobe, who was actually the face of the ANC in my ward, he's the one who actually introduced me to civic politics. May his soul rest in peace. And just hardly 3 months, I was then co-opted because the REC there called a meeting. When you are still fresh from the university, you are speaking, they speak English and speaking politics, you are telling people they're selling out and all this thing. And the
Compromising
lady,
us.
You're compromising us. In fact, you are there for yourself. You know those politics of young people. Then Comrade Norman Machet then proposed me and I think this comrade, the comrade who's a dentist, I think he's now in Joburg. He was working for Department of Health, I just forget. We were then co-opted into the REC of Mopane before it could be Norman Mashaba. That's when the journey of civic politics started.
And NYDA?
NYDA, it was when, what happened is that I graduated 2007, became, I think the very same year, I was also enrolled as an advocate. You wanted a title so that people can fear you. It's Advocate Malatji. I remember Castle. Immediately after I was enrolled, I called Castle. Castle answers the call. Hey, Kabila,
Call me advocate.
No, Chief, no, wait a bit. You're speaking to Advocate Malatji. He said, no, come here, pass here. He was happy for me, genuinely. No, Castle, even today, I still respect him. I got there, I'm sure him, I'm an advocate and all this thing. And he was very happy for me. And I think 2008, I was employed at the same department that I'm in today, as a junior legal advisor. A legal admin office.
And as you went to municipality.
Yeah, no, I went.
You've been lucky with jobs.
I think the experience that I have accumulated with time can't be avoided by any panel that is to look into my CV, unless if there's an agenda, like in Zanin, where they have an agenda against me. I know Zanin will never work. But if the panel is objective, there's no way that you can ignore the experience I have, especially in the public administration.
Are you? ask myself, are you a trust fund baby? Have you inherited a lot of money? Kabila, you have many houses. Your houses are big and nice. What happened?
Look, very simple. I don't believe
You
in.
remember first time I came to your house in Sunday? I was Kabila, is this your house, man?
Yeah, look, yeah, that I know, and look, very simple. Now I don't believe in investing in money. Banks don't give returns that which you do. Now I work 4 or 5 years. I take my pension. I invest on a property. That has always been my motto. I will tell you, I don't have money in savings. I don't have. I don't. And generally, me and building, we are friends. I have a
Building a lodge.
Yeah.
Some
Even now,
kawa,
even
some restaurant.
Even now, even now as we speak, I'm building a hall. Me and building are very simple. But you know the advantage of that is because when I graduated, my father gave me 2 options. Do you want a party or do you want a house? In Linyenye. That time, they were still houses were still...
120.
No, 30, 20. Yeah. And the party would worth around that time.
Yeah.
I look at this thing, I said, no, I want a house. He bought me my first house in Linyenye. So that's why it became easy for me to build. I've never built in a house because I had pressure. I always had a place where I could put my head. So building for me is something. And remember, I also have a brickyard. Most of the buildings I do
In-house.
I do them in-house. I also have a company of builders.
You also started a law firm.
Yes, I had a law firm that at some point it was doing very good. Yeah, it was doing very good. So it was easy for me to build a house. When I came here in Polokwane, one municipality was owing me a lot of money. So I took that money and invested in. For sure, since we were friends, you have never met me at a nightclub. I know you're a DJ. You have never met me in a nightclub.
You've never bothered. And I think that is actually one stronghold. Yeah. Even some of those that you're close to who have surpassed doing well is because of the value of money. Because we spend a lot of money over nothing.
Over entertainment.
Yeah, over entertainment.
Yeah.
Mara, I want to commend you, Kabila, and I told you, you have done well for yourself.
No, I'm trying. Look,
you have.
and I'm not saying it as a way of boasting or what. I have one resolution, very simple, that every year, when I say that I have lived this year, I should have a property that I would say I've built this property.
Let's get into. I want us to touch on you being a director right now of CoGHSTA. Like, when did you start? The challenges. What are you dealing with on daily basis? Like, just walk us through that.
I will attempt by all means to avoid to be too deep, because I'm not allowed necessarily to speak on
other things.
On other things. But my work in the department, I'm manning legal services. I'm the director of legal services. I do all the contracts, do the advisory, do the litigations of the department. In mostly it will involve traditional leadership in the province, the dispute resolutions of traditional leaders and all these things. Yeah, so that's basically advising municipalities when there are intervention in municipality. I'm always advising the premier. I mean, not the premier, because premier has his advisors, the MEC. So yeah, that will be my daily work. But of course, of important is to make sure by all means that I don't allow the municipality. I mean, I've worked too much in municipalities.
The department.
Yeah, so I will by all means try to ensure that the department does not just get into trouble unnecessary when we can actually avoid. So that is to the extent I'm prepared to speak about my work, because if I go deeper, remember there's an oath that I've taken before 2 judges.
Yeah, I wouldn't want the situation
about my clients, and currently as we speak, my client is the department. So I would not want to dispose. I would not want to expose the work that which I do, but except just to share with what I've shared with you.
The last thing I want is for one to lose a job
Yeah,
after coming
no, that's true.
to this platform.
That's true.
It really feels bad when you hear that.
Yeah, I'm not an official communicator of the department, and that's why I will speak strictly about my roles, not necessarily the contents of the roles that which I do.
No, I see.
Yeah.
Alumni and Convocation Association. How long have you been in?
This is my 3rd term.
And term is how many years?
It should be 3 years.
So it's 9 years.
That's almost there.
What does the Convocation do?
No, Convocation is more like your SRC outside campus. We will raise funds to help the needy. We will actually, we're also an advisor because remember, Convocation is the statutory body. It's not there because of a favor of somebody. It's a statutory body. We do a lot of things. Just to help the university. But for
what
me,
are you there for? Is it?
But for me, it's about plowback, that I can actually apportion my time to contribute into the well-being of the university, that which, despite all the challenges that I gave to you.
What are you proud of? What have you achieved?
No, TEFLOP made me.
What have you achieved with regard to when you are in the Convocation? Something that you can say is tangible and like you are proud of.
No, what I'm proud is that last year we raised 8 million to needy students. We raised 8 million. We are a powerful body of opinion in TEFLOP. We have people who are from Convocation who represent our views in council. And what I'm happy about is, and all those people are former student leaders who understand. In fact, majority of those who are in the leadership of Convocation today, by their rights, they are leaders, they're former leaders, student leaders, and youth leaders. So
why do you have these conferences far?
Look, sometimes it's about control.
Of what?
No control. We've seen many institutions. Their conferences will collapse because of order and all these things. Of course, I agree with you. It's not a very good thing. We should be able to, when things are right.
I find it unfair. Because
No, I agree.
I'll tell you why.
No, but you can't say unfair. And look, here I would beg to differ with you.
Because
TEFLOP is a national asset.
you
find project of, we find a product of TEFLOP everywhere in the country. In fact, in Namibia, we have one of the strongest branches in Namibia. We are currently working, we have an interim structure in Swaziland. We are working on Zimbabwe, Zambia, and all these things.
Wow.
And all these structures need to be serviced. We need to, with our conferences, we need to rotate with our provinces, because we don't want to project.
As if it's a Limpopo
Yeah,
thing.
it's not a Limpopo
We are
thing.
national.
It's a national.
International.
Yes. That's why the route that which the university is taking is to project an international character.
No. You see there, I think you broke it down very well.
Yeah. So it's not about that the recent thing that we want to gatekeep on. We need to service everyone. Everyone, when we are in Mpumalanga, people must feel the president of Limpopo.
And remember, University of Limpopo used to host a lot of Mpumalanga
We
people.
used to send buses to go and recruit people in Northwest, Northern Cape, and in Mpumalanga. So it can't be wrong for us to be able to respect and
You put it so well,
yes.
Kabila, I don't want to lie.
yes.
You put it so well that anyone can, now I understand. Do you transport people to the convocation?
No, personally, I've never been transported.
You have never seen a bus there?
No, look, there will be interested parties. No, I don't want to lie to you and
Have you
say.
seen a bus at the...
Yeah, no, I know that at some point, convocation is a contested terrain.
Yeah, have you seen buses there?
Yeah, no, when we were in Durban,
Who's paying for them?
look, I did not want to put, because to me, it was not the business that which I need to, what concerned me.
I know you are not an ignorant fellow, Kabila.
I'm not ignorant, but
Unless if you have changed last night.
No, I've not, and I'll tell I'm not. But here, I will say that with due respect, my brother. To me, the qualification.
You know, when somebody says with due respect, you must know you will be disrespected.
No. I'm not.
When somebody started saying with due respect, my mind starts going like,
I don't know. I'm not disrespecting
There
you.
comes disrespect.
I'm not disrespecting you, but safe to say, personally, I would not, because there were two groups there.
There's two groups.
When we were in Durban in the last conference, there were two groups. All of them, they were ferried with buses.
Group of what?
No, group of contesting.
Who were the leaders of the groups?
It was Donald Slumley who ultimately became the president.
He was buzzing his people.
Who I supported, and I said
He was also buzzing his people.
The other group, I think it was with this one who's a lawyer now. I forget his name. He was contesting.
So Donald
So
managed...
when you contest,
Wait,
yes,
you are now taking over my show. So Donald managed to transport more people to vote for him.
No, I will not want to put it that way.
Okay, you win with numbers.
Donald managed to convince more numbers to vote for him. He managed to convince more people who were in conference to support, because there are those who also came with the
Or
buses.
some were undecided.
Of course.
Yeah.
There are those who also came with the other buses who ultimately voted for Donald.
I don't know the other lawyer, but...
I don't know, and he's a very young chap, and at some point I proposed, but this man and the zeal that he wants to...
Co-opt him,
No, man, let's co-opt him. Actually, I don't know what happened to that debate, but yeah. And he's a very fine man. He's a very
I don't know the young man, but I know Donald. And I like him a lot.
Donald is the president, very reasonable, very level-headed, and...
I like it. He even looks good on the...
And
sometimes you need to have someone who can even look good on the posters.
That's my leader.
You're close to him?
Very close. In fact, I can claim, and he knows. He calls me, what is this name? The Garage Kid. He called me Mr. Mayari.
Because you trained him?
Yeah, when he arrived in Teflop, we're the ones who told him politics, real politics. Because, during our time, there were politics of socialism and politics of realism. I told him that this one, my many socialism of embracing poverty, now I'm not with them. Now I want this one where...
No, you were clear.
You know me, and that I've never been... and that is still I'm not a communist myself.
I want us to slow down so that we can hear each other well. Here's Donald. He's your friend.
Yes.
Brother. And he's your chairperson. President at Alumni and Convocation Association.
That's correct.
And was it the first time you speak at a graduation ceremony?
No, I think I could be speaking for the 10th time.
10th time. But this time, you were, according to what you said, you were representing the president.
All my speeches.
No. Let's talk about this one.
Yes.
On Tuesday.
I want to give context to it so that you understood how I say it.
I understand.
Yes. Donald is the face of Convocation. Every time when you speak, because you are from the collective elite, you recognize this leadership to say, I'm honored to speak here on behalf of the president of the Convocation and his collective. Because the program would not lose, say, message of support by Convocation president.
Okay, so
So
he's
it's
overseas.
important.
Yeah.
It's like MECs. You know, MECs, even when it's their program, they would always put the premier as the face of whatever program they do because they acknowledge that leadership.
Yeah. So, Kabila,
Yes.
you were representing the president of the Convocation.
The collective of the Convocation.
Or the collective.
Correct.
So you were deployed.
Led by Donald Slumley. Yes, I was deployed.
You were deployed.
Yes.
You said some things. Can I speak?
Yes.
In my show.
Yeah, Visahina.
That house is that couch is leather, it's pure leather. And I bought it. Kabila, you said things that I feel it was not the right platform for you to say. I feel that such things must be entertained. And I want you to listen to me. In alumni convocation meetings and council meetings, or whatever meetings that you have for the university. And you saying that at the wrong platform, it could be maybe a reason that came to my mind was that maybe you are frustrated that when you raise them in your platforms, they are not entertained. Or maybe you just don't define the environment well. I was like, you are clouded by something. I was like, if I was the president, I would have sent you a letter of suspension immediately.
We don't have that clause in our
I don't know, but I would have chucked you out. I don't know, I would do something. I saw ill discipline, ill-informed statements. I saw disrespect to the Vice Chancellor from you. And I was like, what happened to Kabila? We can't have leaders like this. Please walk me through what was your train of thoughts.
Let me start by telling you that, the 8th of April was not my first time addressing graduations. I started addressing graduations since I was since I was in the SRC. I know the platform. Maybe even to politically correct it. Do you know the famous speech by Abraham Khomotso?
No.
Abraham Khomotso, when he actually condemned the university for graduating people within the hall when their parents were seated outside. That was said in that hall. It was said
During graduation?
During graduations.
Wow. Wow.
When I was in the SRC, when I raised the issue that we need young doctor, young professor to take this university forward, I was in the SRC. I did that in Great Hall.
Was it there when you were advocating for Prof. Mokgalong?
Yes. I did that in the hall.
The very same hall?
Yes. Wow. I've raised many issues.
In the very same hall?
In the very same hall.
So it was not an accident?
No.
You don't regret anything?
No, I don't regret anything. In fact, if you go to all the groupings that we have of former students, no one sees any problem with what.
Why didn't you address this thing in your meetings? Oh, by the way, you said
when there's
you said this, Kabila.
Yeah.
You said this, Kabila.
Yes.
As a collective,
yeah,
we are saddened.
Yes.
And that, to my mind, I was like, oh, this is a statement that he was entrusted to go and deliver to the Vice Chancellor when people are graduating.
Look, when I went there, I was given blank check. Go and address graduations on behalf of Convocation. That's the brief that I was given. I was given a blank check.
What
and
happened?
when you address, remember when you address, you speak about matters.
Yeah.
Matters that which concern the university matters that which concern society, advice you give to graduates when they come, warnings, like in the morning. Because that day I addressed twice. I addressed the first session, which was lawyers and what do you call it, those who did accounting. In the first graduation, I told them that I am worried with the level of struck off of lawyers. Ne? I even said we are also worried with the level of high rate of divorce because people are getting married for. I did not have to get a mandate for, but I had to speak about the challenges, the ills, that which are a problem to society. So second phase, I had to speak about the challenges that which concern the university, which are up there in public.
And we are talking about, I think I'm wrong.
I'm emotional on this issue.
Wait, yeah. Remember what you said. I think the viewers are not aware of what we are talking about.
Let me tell you what I said.
Tell us what you told.
I said,
Vice Chancellor. Start
Remember
there.
when
Vice
you
Chancellor. Look at me like I'm the Vice Chancellor.
Look, remember when you address the head of the gathering.
Yeah, it's like in court, Your Honor.
Yeah. When you address the graduation, you address the gathering through the Vice Chancellor. I said Vice Chancellor. In fact, let me say, I said Vice Chancellor. In each and every ceremony, there is a Malome or Rahadi who will always raise the tail, and that's how I said it.
Which is true in our black families.
In a black family.
Whether Kilinyalo or there's someone.
Yes, there's someone who also raised the man. Mara why let's say mang Mara ndringa let's say idea so. So I called the Vice Chancellor.
When you got a new name now, they call you Rakhadi Kabi.
So I said, I'm that Rakhadi or that Malone who will raise issues.
Yeah.
I said, we can't allow a situation where the university is directed by courts who should cap for a particular qualification. It is the wrong side. Well, I may not still be in verbatim, yes.
Yes.
We need to do something about it. Because this issue is big. Since that statement I made, I don't know how many people who came through, Malatji, you're a savior, and I still called the Vice Chancellor in good faith to say, Vice Chancellor, this is a problem. And I can take viewers and take an opportunity to say, I also took you to him on your problem.
To who?
I took you.
Me?
Yeah, to the Vice Chancellor. I took you to the Vice Chancellor physically.
I don't remember.
No, you may not remember. I took you to him. And when I have actually had an interaction with the Vice Chancellor before about this issue, it can't be that we should still subject people to that. Do you know how expensive is higher education? The time it takes. The pain you create for families.
The hope.
The hope you crush. Someone called so. Worse enough, they don't even put it in writing so that you can review whatever decision that they tell you that, Cappuccino, we feel that this degree you did it erroneously or we did legapo, so what's qualifying? How deep can it be? I'm just saying, and I raise it and say VC. This does not show Ubuntu.
Kabila dead. It dead so bad.
And look, that's why I'm saying that it's an emotional issue. It's a very emotional issue. Yeah, they're seated there, they're getting their salaries at the end of the month, they're doing that. Remember, everyone who's going there at the end of the day, he wants to show When I came to this university, I did LLB. This is my qualification. And thank you very much. I have no business with creating relations and all these things. You are there for a particular purpose. Somebody sit there. Worse enough is that there are no corrective measures. People are not held responsible for these actions. It's business as usual. Must we keep quiet? Must I say I should wait a collective? I must wait for a collective decision of convocation. By my right, no one who does not know I'm an activist. I'm an activist. If I see wrong things, I speak about it. I don't shy around it. No matter whether you are my friend or you're not my friend. But truth must be told, raw as it is. And I'm not doing this thing to further any particular campaign or whatsoever. I'm just saying that the VC at some point, because they are men, the VC, the council, they must actually create an ad hoc committee or something just to look into this matter. Because at least now we know we have 2 cases where the court has directed the university to reconsider their decision to want to cap, to refuse to cap students. It's an emotional issue. You can't see it and say, no, look, it was an administrative. What do you say about the time that the student has spent in the university? What do you say about it? Is what our black people should be subjected to. And look, this is the message that I was asking to the VC. Is what we black people, we deserve. I was not insulting anyone.
Because you mentioned something that, are we being inhumane?
Yeah, I asked
What
you.
is Ubuntu?
And look, I was very disappointed. And immediately after, the Professor Malatji stood up and said, no, this thing. He behaved as if this problem does not exist. And if you answer in a rogue manner that he did, what are you saying to this student? You know, I don't know if you have time. I can play you a video where somebody sent, that person did not even send me, she sent my wife. And she says, Malatji, ke kgopela re mmotse monna o, ntho e a e bolelang e gona e ya phela nna ba nganeditše ka ba ka nyaka ke kgopolaile mara ka no ke potša ra ke tlo gola lephephe.
When I started to raise issues of the university, people thought I'm mad. I'm not happy with my methods. At some point, I lost my cool. I started to insult people,
It's an emotional.
but I started well, and then I received a lot of people. You know, today there's someone who was telling me I was hospitalized. When graduations come, I can't do anything. Yes. People are getting promoted. My PhD was taken away from me.
That's how satanic this decision could be to people. And look, I'm not.
So out of everyone, you are the one who can see that.
No, I'm saying this is what I observed, and part of my speech was to say, I think I want the university to take action, to look into this matter.
Because the problems are caused by people maybe on the ground.
Yeah.
And we end
Can I tell you without shame? Mokgalong is one of the best VC Tefloba has ever had, and that's why he stood this long. And if you ask me and say, can you support him if he was still young, I'll tell you that man is... that man, you know, in our lifetime, as long as you are passing, we will take any student to him and say, but this student is passing. We can't afford to. He's a very wonderful person.
I have observed that man. Remember, I'm from University of Limpopo.
Yeah.
I've seen his role around end of February and March when students have been excluded.
Yeah, you live there at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I've seen there are many things that he has done.
They will queue in his office. Imagine student queuing in the Vice Chancellor's office.
In fact, the good deeds surpasses some of the small things
That's why I'm saying that-
that are killing his legacy right now.
Yes.
He has helped a lot. I even wrote it today that he has helped thousands. But we wouldn't want other questions to be asked about
His legacy.
some who could have been destroyed
Yes.
through, I don't know whether it's oversight, through whether allowing, or through his leadership.
Someone is just not doing his work. And I'm requesting the Vice Chancellor to say, Vice Chancellor, please put your lens on this issue. Wear your goggles. There's something that is not going on. I'm not fighting anyone. I'm just raising an issue that is a problem to society at large.
My academic record was updated that I've met the requirements for a master's.
Yeah.
I remember before graduation, I called my mother. It's an old woman. I think she's 80 now. Prepare. She's very stylish, my mother. She went and organized the dress and attire for my graduation. Then I arranged my driver to go pick her up in Namaskral. She came here a week before, at least to also stay with us. And I had to tell her I'm not graduating. My qualification disappeared from my academic record. And I'm trying to engage the registrar. I'm not getting the right answer. What's going on? But I got reasons. And as I engaged with Prof. Marsh, that I need to go into honors. And by then I had another master's degree anyway. And prior working experience in the media field and all this sort of things. I had an NQF level higher than what is required for me to qualify. But the email is still there that I should complete the program of honors. I will get my honors degree, then get my master's degree. I was okay with that situation. I went through the process. After getting my honors, I was the best in class because they were kids, those people. Graduation comes, it was COVID. 23 people in class. One is missing from the graduation. That one person happens to be me, the best student, who's supposed to graduate and the next graduate get the master's. Same thing. My mother is anticipating that.
Yes.
My wife is anticipating that. It's a family. But I'm giving it to you that imagine a poor kid from the villages where there's hope that he will even get employment or she'll get employment.
You know, unfortunately, these cheerleaders would not know what they are doing. They think that I'm meeting this problem or I'm just fabricating things. For sure, you know by now that I was a member of Limpopo Consumer Court.
No.
Yeah, I was a member of Limpopo Consumer Court.
And I want to appreciate, Kabila, you tried to mediate. You called me and said, the trajectory you are taking is not right. Let's see if we can put everyone and discuss your issue.
And we put everyone who matters.
Yeah. And we discussed. And I was at peace. And then I looked at the professor and apologized because I was disrespectful to him and his family.
No, because of our frustration. I mean,
But,
I
yeah.
think I would have done worse than you did.
You see?
But the point that I want to drive home now is that just immediately after that video went viral, Advocate Richard Ramashia, he calls me. He says, Kabila, do you remember the first case that we had to deal with? Go Limpopo Consumer Court. It was about this issue. Then I realized that this problem is deeper than we thought. And I still call upon the University of Cancer, that Professor, that Mr. Navolovolo, who is the chairperson, instead of calling me a young boy without manners, please investigate this matter.
Yeah, you didn't have manners. You can't raise it.
No, whether you call me, and I'm an activist, well, at least live with the fact that I'm an activist in my life. I was prepared by the material conditions that created me. I'm not that person. Now in my life, I don't fear anyone, but I respect people. And my respect to any person should never be confused to fear. I don't fear anyone. I don't fear anyone, but I respect people.
So Richard called.
Yeah, Richard called and said, man, and I think the matter, and sorry for, it was it was not even one party, it was two people, I may not remember their name, at the consumer court. It may be that consumer court became something else later on, but we have dealt with. So, in essence, personally, if I were to include your matter, this is the fifth matter. So this is huge because it involved an element of Ubuntu inside. I had to raise it. And I want it to be understood within the context that I was saying, Vice Chancellor, please put your lenses. Let's deal with this issue. Dijamabele. And which I still argue that still remain the role of any stakeholder of the university. And Convocation is one of the stakeholders. I had a right to raise this issue. University is not just
Did you raise it with the Vice Chancellor before the Convocation? One can say you were grandstanding.
Well, you can, if you've not understood where I come from with this issue, I'm saying I've raised this matter with you, your matter with him, physically. Has there been any progress? Were you ever called or no? We have commissioned investigation and this is the outcome.
No.
So how do you call it grandstanding? Because it will be grandstanding if the Vice Chancellor is hearing me on this matter for the first time. That will be grandstanding.
Kabila, why you recent interview?
No.
You were coming with nice SRC stuff.
Look. You see this matter? When you introduced me, when I told you about my life as a student and measures and factors that which led me to be affected by Rule A19, this will be more than 20 years ago. It actually triggered. Because I came to learn later with my friend, not even my friend, my brother. He says, whatever, he was serving article in one firm of those lecturers I told you about. He says, they were speaking, no, Kabila must be kept, he must never graduate. I did not know that they were referring to you because I did not know that you were Kabila. I only learned that you are Kabila later on. And I realized that I've wronged you because I did not tell you about this plot that happened here in Polokwane, in an office down there, the street after Bok. That's where the meeting was held.
But Kabila, when you say these things must be investigated, don't you think...
No. What I'm saying, Kapachin, I'm saying the university must be, if it is to deal with this issue, it must invite everyone publicly who have went through this. And their cases there must be an independent panel because now in the university, where the matter it is, I don't think there's any person who can be able to.
So you no longer trust the university structures?
Not necessarily, but I'm saying that where we are, I don't think the university will be. In fact, this is the matter that which council must decide on.
Council is aware, and they've been aware of the
No, they've not been told publicly like we did. It has not been brought roughly like I introduced it to them.
But you know, people are going to forget about what you said.
Then
and move on with our lives.
we'll escalate the matter because that is the public institution. The minister will have to come in. The parliament had to come in.
So you are now championing the cause of change.
I'm not championing any cause, but I'm saying there's this maladies that is happening in the
Ulwa le management mona Kabila man.
Ke management wa mang?
Ulwa le rena man.
Ke management wa mang? I don't work in the university. I'm a stakeholder in the
You're
university.
fighting us.
I'm not fighting anyone.
We'll deal with you.
It's fine. Let them continue. Not that I've been fired. I've resigned. I've done all this thing before. There's no pain that I don't know.
Kabila, I think it's a noble cause. I'm quiet. Now all I want is my
But I wanted to conclude this because I don't think I've made my point.
All right.
To say,
We are concluding now. Yeah.
I hear you. To say, if the university is to get this thing right, for those students who can afford lawyers, for those students who can't access structures of the university, because I agree the professor says it's the matter for Senate, but the student who can access Senate, because for you to go to Senate is a process. It's not as if
Who is Senate? I don't even know that.
you don't just wake up and say Kinyaga office ya Senate. No, it's a process. For those who can afford, who can be able to access Senate, council, there must just be a simple process to invite them to come and set their case, have their cases investigated. We have proper closure on their issues. And I'm saying this thing because those students, either they are owing university for a degree that they will never graduate. They spend time for a degree that they will never graduate.
Yes.
Professor Madaji come and say that university, they are guided by a principle of Ubuntu and all these things. I think the simple thing he should have done it was to keep quiet and request a meeting with me. So that
You must have been very uncomfortable after that, ne?
No, they were trying to cartoon me. Professor Madaji was trying to cartoon me. Because if it was not his response, because I don't have a platform to clarify what I wanted to say. I don't have a platform in Teflo. I'm not within the assistance where I would have clarified the matter. Or what did I mean? Because obviously he cartooned me as if, like how the chairperson of council characterized me that I'm a young boy who is without manners. How do you call a man who is 45 years, who is by the way, Cappuccino, I'm a grandfather. My first daughter has a kid. Another man come and call me a boy for raising an issue which is as emotional as this one.
This issue has teared down families, and I wish it can be resolved. I wish this issue
That's my humble plea.
could be the last thing that the legacy of that man, Prof. Mokgalong,
I still argue that
can be restored.
Mokgalong, for the last 20 years that I could remember, he has been a father to many people.
And that's why it's not even easy to replace him.
That's why
the
university now is looking something like him.
Shoes are big.
Yeah. If I can be understood correctly on how I put this issue, and I'm sorry that I had to evoke your emotions on this issue.
No, man, it doesn't stop, especially when graduations start. I sometimes even listen to graduations thinking they will call my name
In
by
absentia.
mistake or just say Fortune Maswangai. But by the way, we spoke, and then my mother has never worn that dress. was waiting for me to graduate. Luckily, on the 9th of May, I'm also graduating somewhere. She's going to wait with pride. And I hope I don't get my PhD before I get my other masters that I worked hard for at the University of Limpopo. And thank you for coming, Kabila.
No, thanks.
I know that the other time you came for an interview, that was 3 months ago, but something came up. And the other time we arranged, it's not like it's the first time.
I know that I've been
Yeah.
I've been owing this
Yeah.
studio my presence.
Even today with the,
Yeah, you thought I was not coming.
we even said, he's not coming again.
No,
Because we've been waiting for you from last year.
My apology.
Yeah,
my
but I wish
apology.
you all the best in everything
No,
that you're doing.
Look, it is just a very simple recall that if everyone can wear a sober caps, we should be able to address it.
Yeah. No, I want to close now. The lives of people are affected by this. But anyway, if you have tuned in till this time, thank you for listening. And thank you for checking it out. Please subscribe, comment, give us advice. Feel free to guide us. And thank you for always tuning in to Just Talk with DJ Cappuccino. Thank you, Khomotso Malatji.
Thanks very much.
Later.